Hi, welcome to Actuality Podcast. I'm the host, Dominique Wu, and beside me is my guest, El Elad Offer.
Yeah.
Elad. Hi, Elad. Could you share a little bit about your background with us? I hope my pronunciation sounds fine.
Yeah, it's close enough. It's all good. Yeah. Like I said, my name is Elad Offer. I am a director. I come from a background of VFX. So for many years, I was a VFX artist and a VFX supervisor. Um, I really started. I mean, I started in the mid '90s when digital compositing was relatively new. On these really expensive machines, and I was quite excited to be part of that. I came from an IT background. I went to school for math and computer science, and I wanted to combine that with art, and found out sort of about compositing sort of an accident, and then found a company that let me intern and sort of slowly build that career. And then in the early aughts, I had a visual effects company in Los Angeles where I was the creative director and did a whole lot of music videos and some feature films. And then for a few years, I was sort of freelance as a creative director and VFX supervisor and director. And recently, I was the executive creative director of a company called The Artery out of New York. And one of the things I did there, which I think is how you got to me, was I directed the immersive version of Bono Stories of Surrender, which is a sort of documentary for Apple TV Plus on sort of capturing the performance that Bono did as a sort of book tour when he released his book after having a heart attack. So this book tour became sort of a one-man show, or as he calls it, a quarter-man show, because obviously he's a member of U2, is generally doing things with all four members. And yeah, so I've directed all sorts of things. I was VFX supervisor and all sorts of things, meaning commercials, TV, feature films, a whole lot of music videos, and some immersive entertainment. And hopefully, this Bono project, Story of Surrender, um, was sort of groundbreaking in terms of telling stories in immersive. That's it.
Cool. So yeah, so you mentioned that you are from your background is more CS, but your goal is to combine art and like the technology, right? And you have a lot of like a feature film, and also you directed the immersive TV show. So may I ask you like what do you see like right now, for example, like the entire trend for in this film in the film industry. For example, like we can see recently I saw like um, the new technology called the speed dance, right? When I saw that, I was like, wow, anybody who can prompt, who has any ideas can immediately direct to a very good result. What do you see like this types of like for example VO3 or project or like a Genie 3,
Yeah.
all those like a world model and also the video production using AI prompt. What do you see this effects or trend in the film industry?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's really hard to tell where this is all going, and kind of more importantly, where it'll land. But it's certainly providing a lot of people tools to put ideas out in a sort of mm, initial way.
Mm.
I've seen very little things that feel really polished at a professional level. Even down Aronofsky that just did 1778, I think it's called, right? Is a all AI documentary on the early days of the US. It just feels mm, unfinished. It just it's not or not fully polished in a way that somebody like Aronofsky would normally do. And I think that's partly a matter of the tools that are just their output is a bit plastic in a way that I can't honestly totally put my finger on, but I think we all recognize it when we see AI acting
Mm.
or things like that. There are things that are incredibly useful in all this machine learning as a tool, and I think for somebody who has an idea, it does make it considerably easier to uh, um, get to something that you can share with other people quickly.
Mm.
It certainly removes a lot of the barriers of production and all of that. Things like Kling and whatever, where you can like film some people doing some things and then convert that into whatever environment you want it to be. I I think are very interesting tools. Mm, the problem is sort of how do you I think there's a storytelling thing that there's some people who are amazing at it to begin with, and then there's some people who just learn over time from just making um, content, making videos, films, whatever it might be, like over and over and over, and like in each iteration they get better. I think that's the majority of people. And what happens with this sort of shortcut with the
Mm.
AI tools is that even stuff that is not quite fully finessed in terms of the storytelling,
Mm.
um, and the things that would make it interesting, um, is getting out, and it's going to be very hard to find the good stuff out of all the what's currently called slop, but I don't know if it needs to
Mm.
be called necessarily that, but rather just like mm, unfinessed and un finished
Mm.
stuff that's really shouldn't be ready, like shouldn't be out already.
Mm.
And those shortcuts, I mean honestly, like even for me,
Mm.
15, 20 years ago,
Mm.
um I was considerably less good at telling a story than I am now, and it's been a journey,
Mm.
than I hope I am now. But it's been a long journey, learning from other people, learning from other filmmakers, just by watching them do their thing,
Mm.
reading scripts, working on scripts, working with other really talented people that you kind of learn how to be better at it. And the jump, we're like, oh, I have an idea. Let's make it I can just prompt it and immediately have something, means that stuff is coming out that honestly I don't think it should be. And and it just makes it harder and harder to like find what's the good, what the good stuff is. And it, I think that's going to be to the detriment of AI filmmaking,
Mm.
because you see a lot of people who probably should have spent a little more time on their idea,
Yeah.
and on rewriting that idea.
Mm.
And honestly, I mean, that's something I struggle with. There's that line that like writing is rewriting,
Mm.
and I suffer through that. Like I do not like to reread my work, and kind of go through it over and over again. But that is how it gets better. That is how you kind of rethink. And then sometimes you need to pause. You need to put a script aside or a thought aside, and even for a few months or even a few years, just let it percolate and then come back to it and go, oh, okay, I see. Like some of the the more interesting projects that I've been involved with came in and out of the door for a long time, and each time got improved. There's like, oh, I didn't think about this, I didn't think about that. Uh, so the shortcuts I think are a problem, honestly. Like on the one hand, I love that it's democratizing filmmaking.
Yeah.
That's great. Although there are like ethical things that I think we've all kind of blown by, and like all the stuff getting trained on material that might not have copyright and might not have rights to, and all of that I think is um un, unresolved and sort of, like I said, blown by, because all of us also, honestly, I mean, I don't think I know anybody who doesn't use some sort of
Or,
machine learning for something.
mm,
And that's its own problem, but yeah, it just feels like the democratization, it can also be problematic in that way, isn't there stuff that just shouldn't be out there yet, that the
mm,
people making it should work on a little longer and sit on a little longer until it's really refined. And especially when you get all these like competitions when it's like you have 2 weeks to make something.
mm.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
if you're an incredibly honed filmmaker, storyteller, then maybe you can do that. But I think there's very little work that's great that's come out of like mm, such a short process, like where there isn't time to edit and re-edit and re-edit and kind of mold into something really great. Uh, I hope that answered that.
Yeah, yeah, this is great because right now I think higher education, which is the film that I'm in right now, is also facing the problem or facing the dilemma because we want students to learn, right? And right now AI is like just like you said, it's shortcut, right? You prompt something, the result very perfect result just came out, right? And it's so good that teacher doesn't even know. Did you even think? Did you even know the instruction, or did you even learn? Right. So it becomes very hard. So for assessment, right now, a lot of people start thinking about maybe project based. Maybe that's great. The process instead of just final result. And for the presentation, maybe instead of just show the thing, you need to present it, right? Because if you can explain, you might know, right? So there are a lot of adjustment for education as well. And my
Yeah, that makes
question,
sense to me.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think the process is in many cases more important, especially for like education, for like when you're studying how to do something. The
mm,
process is more important than the end result. We've been in many ways, I think, too focused on the final paper rather than like, can you think through this? Can you really like come up with a way to
mm.
figure this out?
Yeah, I do agree with you. And also, I also feel I'm very lucky to at least live and learn during the time before AI. So that's why when the AI arrived, I've already become a senior person.
Mm.
Yeah, imagine that, for example, like right now, if you are just a college student, what do you think the best for you to learn film? Is that doing experimenting all the AI tools, or you think the best way is to go through the old way of, rewriting, hand drawing? I don't know. What do you think?
I really think it's the latter, meaning learn how to operate a camera, learn how to work with actors, be on a set with other people who have other ideas, who can collaborate and make you think about this or that or the other. Filmmaking is and always has been, in spite of like this auteur sort of picture, has always been collaborative. The director, the DP, the producers, the actors, the lighters, the like everybody on set makes a difference. And if you don't have that, I think you're taking away from yourself the opportunity to learn from other people. And also I think that, just in terms of like the AI by definition generates this sort of averaged um, output from like everything humans have ever made. But um, you can't make it do something different. And I think the amazing thing with art is that any sort of art, and especially filmmaking, is that in spite of people having done what you think would be like every single possible story ever told, especially like with a camera, like how do you point it this way or that way, um, we still see people doing completely new things, taking completely new approaches to storytelling in this format after thousands of movies having been made. The fact that you can still do that, some of it is aided by technology, and I'm sure AI can be useful as a tool, but I don't think anything can replace um, learning how to use a camera, learning how to focus attention, learning how to what it is that makes a good actor good versus a mediocre actor, what it is that makes people connect. All those things, I think, are a lot more visceral and a lot more of a learning experience when you do it for real with other people, rather than just kind of sitting at a computer and kind of prompting things. And almost every director that I know that has tried to work with AI um, complains about sort of the undirectability of things, because it is interpolated, because it is an averaged sum of everything that's been fed into the learning algorithm. Um, it it can, by definition, only do things that have already been done.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
totally agree.
and done a lot, because otherwise, if anything that's an outlier disappears from the learning.
Yeah.
It doesn't have enough weight, like literally in like kind of the mathematical weighing of the learning, um, to make a difference. So what you're getting is sort of the default mode for everything, the sort of middle of the line approach to doing anything. Um, and that's just not interesting
Oh, yeah.
for somebody creative. I mean, I think it's fine if you have like, I don't know, FOMO, and you want to do a Tarantino movie, right? You could
Yeah.
you can probably repeat a Tarantino movie today relatively easily, with much lower cost. But you don't become Tarantino by doing what everybody else is doing. Uh, so as a tool, by definition, I think it has issues that are probably unresolvable. And I don't think that, at least from like a true art perspective, that part's at risk. The commercial art part is at risk, because by almost everything we do, like when I do a car commercial or whatever, if we're honest about it, they all look the same. It's a
Yeah.
car making like going way too fast in a city or
Yeah.
some country road, and doing things that you never do with a car, but it all looks the same.
Yeah.
And so you can do that again easily. But if you're trying to get attention, if you're trying to do something that's different, I think by definition, all the AI stuff, it doesn't deliver. Uh, a- and 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 so if you're a student trying to come up, definitely my advice would be get on a set, or just take a bunch of your friends and make something and
Mm,
learn where your taste is. Like, learn what you can do that nobody else can,
mm,
and kind of what you as a group of
mm.
people interacting with each other can do that nobody else can.
Yeah, yeah. Recently, there's a competition. It's called AI Film Award by 1 Billion Summit and Google Gemini. Yeah, and I saw the number one, or the couple of it that won the award. The first one was more like an Indian, and also the other one was like a lily. It was more like, oh, there's a little doll, right? And at the end, there's a huge twist, and I find out that, wow, everything, it becomes like, I feel like we are getting to another era, which you couldn't just use VFX to, because long time ago before AI, if your VFX or if your technology is so cool, but your content is, all the DC film, right? It's like your content was not that good, but if your shots are so good, maybe, people will still go there, right, and watch it. But right now, I find out that the storytelling need to be so unique, because you see the tools, and I saw like, wow, the winner is more like a focus on the taste, just like you said, and also the super unique personal experience. Because if you saw the Indian one, wow, like, oh, the grandpa is filming, or like taking picture of the last day he died, and at the end, actually the grandson, or yeah. So, and everything was so Indian, like a traditional.
Mm.
I can
Yeah.
tell you I couldn't do that. Why? Because I'm not from that culture. And I find out, wow, localization, who you are, what's your roots, it's so important to make you outstanding in this storytelling world. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think I think you're right about that, but there's still something about it, um, that I don't know. At least for me, I didn't connect with. Like, there's a deadness to it
Mm,
that I don't, um like, I didn't connect it. There's a level of, like, mistakes
mm,
and accidents that happen when you
mhm,
work on a set,
mm,
or even if you're doing something like an animated movie,
mm,
a Pixar movie, or like Leica, the like the
mm,
claymation stuff that are highly planned, but there's still um things that happen, mistakes that happen from working in a group
mm,
that lead to more interesting things that you didn't consider. And I think that's missing. So these films, I think, are great executions of things that felt like I've seen this before.
mm,
Yes, the Indian one, the artistic style was very
mm,
Indian, and I thought that was interesting. I'm sure there are movies that look like that in India that I haven't been uh, um, kind of exposed to. And then the other one that looked like the like with a doll,
mm,
that's certainly stuff that, like, you see from Leica, or
yeah.
whatever. Um, and there's a smoothness to it. It's like, I don't know. It's I I feel like it's kind of like when you have those TVs when they turn on the 120 hertz motion estimation smoothness, and everything looks like a soap opera,
Mm,
or like like, it kind of feels like that. There's something about it that, like, my brain immediately goes, I don't know about this. Uh,
mm,
but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, there's possible that I've seen things that I didn't know were AI and are great, but everything I've seen so far, from my personal taste, and not to put down, the people who've made these things, but for my personal taste, there's there's a smoothness and a polish to it that is
Mm.
um, mm, inhuman, and,
Yeah, right.
and therefore hard for me to like emotionally care about.
Understand.
Um,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, but still at the same time, like with those projects and everything else, it comes down to, can you tell a good story?
Yeah.
And I've no doubt that the people who made those two have experience making other movies
Yeah, right. I
before.
saw the winners are all like a film director or people related to film and working in
Yeah,
the film industry, more
yeah, it's
senior,
people
right?
who have had ideas that they couldn't afford to make
Mm,
because the production limitations were too high, the
mm,
cost, whatever, and this allowed them to make something quicker,
mm.
um, but still, there's like I don't know. Again, for me, there's like a deadness to it that I
Yeah.
just don't connect with.
Yeah, what do you think for the higher education, right? Because right now we are also getting a dilemma, right? Because if you see currently hiring, the junior level was being almost replaced by reducing the cost by all the companies, right? Company like to hire people with 20, 30 years of experience. The senior definitely get the sweetness of the AI tool because they know when to use and use their imagination or the traditional training, AI happens perfect for the senior level. But for the junior one, because the interesting thing right now is that usually startup will trying to, more like a hiring more junior role. And when startup hiring a junior role, they want to retrain them using AI tools. So I noticed that that's say if the teacher tell student, hey, we don't use AI. And later on, student go to the startups and startup, reduce the cost. And of
Yeah.
course, for example, like, oh, hire a film major and help us use AI to create a trailer for our product, right? And let's say if students say, no, I refuse it because our teacher told us everything needs to be da 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 da, and this is inhuman, AI is unethical, there's no soul, and that student won't get any jobs. So, like for example, if you are a teacher, what will you do? Like, is there any balance to do the most? Because I feel like this tool is just like a sweetness, like a give to student, and student just picks prompt, and at the end they have no idea what's going on, and, later on, they go to the job and,
Yeah.
employer give them a lot of tools,
I mean, I don't. I mean, I think if I had the answer, I'd probably there'd be a lot of people trying to talk to me a lot more than there are
This is
at the
hard.
moment. But the uh, I think there's no doubt that AI as tools will be part of our future. My gut feeling, and the somebody will probably quote me in a couple of years and say, or even now saying, look at that idiot. But my gut feeling is that it is not going to replace people in the way that they claim.
Mm,
There is a problem that is it's been in existence before as well. For instance, in the world of VFX, when we started to outsource the junior work to other countries, the problem is y- you don't have a way to train your younger people to
mm.
become senior level
Yeah, yeah,
people,
it just takes prompt.
and then you end up with a problem where you don't have senior level people.
Yeah, after
So
10 years, right?
yeah, so I think that might end up being the case with AI. There's going to be a awakening to the fact that, oh shit, we fired everybody um who could have become senior. We've removed all the juniors because the seniors were super efficient and whatever.
Mm, yeah.
But then they retire, and then it's like, oh, who's gonna do this now? Who's gonna make sure that the AI code is actually working right? Who's gonna make sure that it's more efficient? Who's gonna do all these things that people seem to still be better at than the machine learning?
Mm,
So my gut feeling is that we're going to go through a period where a lot of companies are gonna try and do that, and then they're going to realize that it didn't quite work out the way they were hoping, and then there's going to need to be a period of fixing that of allowing a ladder for people to improve in their career, improve in like in their know-how, and you can't just drop them straight into senior level positions because there's certain things they just don't know,
Mm,
and take time to learn.
mm,
Um, so yeah, my guess is that's going to be the case. But in terms of somebody in higher education right now, that's really a hard one. But if you look at even like I just saw on my LinkedIn,
mm,
uh, uh, Entropic is looking for a creative director
mm,
to lead all of their sort of, what their brand looks like, and what their interaction with the world looks like. So that's Entropic.
mm,
Um, According to their story,
mm,
they should be able to ask Claude to
mm.
do that for them. Uh,
Yeah, right.
there shouldn't need to be a human creative director if you believe all the stuff that they're selling.
Yeah,
And yet
interesting.
they're looking for a human to guide all of the AI, right? So I think that's telling. I think there's a gap between sort of the wish, or depends on who you are, but the future, what it could be, and what it is. And we're unfortunately in a period where a lot of companies are going after sort of the wishful thinking situation, to
Mm,
the detriment of their workers, to the detriment of the people, like young people coming into the workforce. Uh,
mm,
my gut feeling is it'll self-correct, but there's going to be a lot of pain in the meantime.
mm,
Uh, and if I was like a young person in higher education, I would try and find stuff where you need uh, not just a brain, you need hands as well. Like, you need
mm.
to be able to put something together. You need to be able to put yourself physically in a place.
Mm,
You need to be able to interact with the real world in a way that um, AI just can't, at least not at the moment.
yeah, yeah. Just like you said that there um I think for younger generation, maybe apprenticeship is the best. However, if you see right now the big company like a Meta, Amazon, they are firing seniors. Why? They find out that hey, XAI, they just have 20 or 30 people, the whole team, and can create such an amazing product. Why we need like a 70K people working on the same thing? So I can see, and I saw a lot of my really good friends. They are amazing, the top 1% of the XR field, and they are seeking for offers. So that's they even, for example, like even the senior ones still need to seek for offer in the tech world. Like in film, it's really good because film has the storytelling side that machine might not currently machine might not be able to emphasize this, right? Maybe in the future when machine become robots, maybe
Mm.
they live with us, right? They probably have a lot of feelings. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see Clobot, it's like, wow, is that even real? They have a religion there. So yeah, so this is like the current one for film. However, for example, for computer science student, right? The recent one, the junior one who just out of college, the thing about it is that today I read a news about, I think some CTO or CEO mentioned that, oh, in the future, it will be one person start a company or two. One person can start the entire thing and lead like a 20 AI agent.
Yeah, it was Sam Altman who said that, and actually
Yeah.
there's a guy who tried that. There's a podcast called Shell Game.
Hmm.
Season two, this guy, the journalist, tried to do that,
mm,
And it is a very enlightening podcast and very funny
mm.
because it fails in every possible way
Wow.
because it's just not there
Mm,
yet. So again, it's one of those things where I think there's a gap between the promise and the reality. But there's other companies who are trying to go that way. Like I said, they fired a lot of people.
mm,
There's also separately in the XR
mm.
world, I think there's currently a bit of a pullback from
VR.
sort of VR
Yeah.
and MR
Mm.
to more of the
AR.
glasses
Yeah.
kind of situation, which is a different approach to kind of what these devices can and should do.
Mhm.
Um, and that's affecting sort of that world. Like Meta fired a lot of people from Reality Labs,
Yeah.
um, and then like Apple moved a lot of people from the Vision Pro to their Apple glasses
Mm,
development, but very different products in terms of like if you're trying to make content for those devices, it's a very different thing. You can't do the sort of project like the one I did for Apple with Bono.
mm,
That won't work on the Apple glasses or the Meta glasses. It just
mm,
they have technical limitations. They've sort of conceptual limitations to what they are that doesn't allow you to do the same thing. In any case, all of that just means that I think there's currently a bit of a pullback in the world of VR and MR, and uh, it's hard to tell whether it's just one more wave of this
mm,
thing because it's happened before. There was a lot of excitement, then it dropped, and then a lot of
mm,
excitement again, and then it dropped. And I think this is round three or so of kind of the cycle.
mm,
Um, uh, my guess is that it's going to come back as technology improves for the headsets and things,
mm.
um, but that's a specific problem. But I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to be a young person these days
Yeah, right. Film
trying
was
to
a big
decide on what is a
decision.
field of study um, that makes sense if you're just looking for a career, right? Um, but I think there are some things that are relatively AI proof for at least for now. Like if you're going into engineering, that's not computer science. If you're doing anything that has intersection with the real physical world,
Mm.
um,
Yeah, I do agree. That's why I start thinking about building my own smart AR glass.
mhm.
Because before I was building my software, and I was like, wow, before, say like 2 years ago, it took me a while using ChatGPT, even vibe code. That has a lot of threshold. But now Claude Code, you just type whatever you want and it's done. And I start thinking about, wow, if this is happening, then what's my next? Because whatever you can think, right? I'm so easy to be replaced, right? So that's why I'm thinking about maybe incorporate some, hardware or even going to the industry that is very old industry, such as education. That is so hard. Nobody is trying to change anything.
Yeah, or health, or
Yeah, health.
honestly, like uh, um, m- m- uh, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering,
Yeah.
like and again, anything that interacts with the real world
Hmm.
is currently safe. But in all those things, even with cloud code and all that, um, it still seems to generate stuff at, I don't know, 98% good, which sounds like a lot and is a lot in many
It is a
ways.
lot.
But the 2% gap
Mm.
is major. Uh, uh, when you ask, I don't know, any of these models these days to to give you an answer for something that's connected to the real world. Let's say how to get from one place to another.
Mm.
Um, they incorporate some real immediate data, right? They do web searches on their own and things like that.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, there's stuff that's baked into the learning that is old, right? It's like,
Mm.
because the main learning process doesn't happen on the fly. It doesn't learn in real time. It happens once every few months. They do a major, like sort of training cycle for a new model,
Mm.
and all the irrelevant stuff gets baked in,
Mm.
and, and that affects the result, and you end up in ways that might sort of quote unquote make sense to the statistical engine, but do not work for humans.
Mm.
And so you build something, because at the end of the day, we're not building a website for like for robots. We're building a website that humans need to use.
Mm.
And even when humans design them, you see things that are sort of turn out to be bad. Some of the latest Apple OS
Mm.
stuff seems to be like the iPhone
Mm.
OS. I know is frustrating a lot of my friends. Like, why is this button not in the right? Like, what happened here? Why is this moved? Why, And these are things that
Mm.
I don't think any AI can really learn. It's to do with how we humans interact with real things in the real world, and so humans will always, I think, need to stay as part of that system, because we just get frustrated with the output otherwise.
Mm.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
try to talk to any of these automated like support chat
Oh yeah,
things
that
or
is.
whatever.
I
It is.
remember, yeah, I remember when I was calling like a BOA because one time I was trying to edit my own address on their portal, on their website. However, I couldn't get in, it's gray out. So that's why I have to call. And every time it's the bot, it just said, oh, if you want to edit your address, please go to our website, your
Yes.
portal. You should be able to edit in under your profile. And I say, but it's gray out and it just
Yeah.
looping. And later on, I have to fool it. I said, "Oh, I lost my credit card," and it's
Uh-huh.
immediately linked to the real person, right? Because it's serious. And later on, I said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to uh, tell a lie, but it's just like I have to say something so serious so I can talk to a human." I don't know why, like there's like a gray out. I couldn't edit it, but like the AI bot, they just follow certain things, and if something is very different from their older, they couldn't help. So it's like yeah, so I understand the customer service. But if you see right now every AI's or like every company's direction, they want to outsource the customer service more like a more AI agent, which is so depressing. And for example, right now, if you use like currently I'm using Amazon AWS, they have a plan before you can just call them and it's human, right? For, because I pay, right? But now they add another additional subscription. It's really sad. It's like, oh, right now we everything is automation. So if you call, it's all bot talking to
Yes.
you. But if
Yeah.
you want to talk to human, you need to pay more in order to talk to human. And I was like, hey, are you supposed to I've already paid you for my entire, storage.
Right, but I think
Uh,
the crux in that is they've realized that humans are willing to pay more money to talk to another human, because the uh, end outcome is a better result
yeah,
than these bots.
yeah,
And
but I
and
feel
and I think
frustrated.
that's really the bottom line, right? Is that in the same way that it's frustrating when you do that experience,
Mm.
anything else that's created by these AI uh, different, large language models and transformers and all these things, um, um, tends to be frustrating in one way or another. That I think is just a disconnect again between like existing in a real world where real things happen, where things don't work out the exact way they're supposed to, and all that, versus this sort of like perfect universe that the AI lives in, and it's the same for everything, including storytelling. You end up with this sort of frustrating experience where you're not getting exactly what you're after. You're not getting the sort of the emotional uh, um, uh, impact, the boost you're looking for. Like it's just like it feels it feels dead. It's a like it's dead calories from all of it, and many times it's just frustrating. You look at it and you're like, why did I just waste time on this
Yeah.
on this thing?
Yeah.
And 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 again, I think these are very useful tools. Um, but sometimes you need to create something that's has a human touch, especially when it comes to the real world. You know, I mean, but I'm an old dinosaur. So, for instance, on the Bono project, there's a lot of artwork that was done by hand, frame by frame, by amazing illustrators who can put a it's a digital pen to a digital paper, but it's still done by hand, and you can see the mistakes. Bono has he talks about kind of being a bad artist, and it's because his line style is very rough. Sometimes looks like a 3-year-old drew it, but he's able to bring through emotion in a way that other humans immediately recognize. And that was something that was important. So like everything was done by hand, and sometimes um, sort of purposely bad, so that there's a visceral response to what is this, and makes you pay attention, and makes you explore it more. That I think doesn't happen when it's all this polished, averaged AI stuff. And I say average because I mean that is what um uh uh the learning process of these machine learning tools is doing, right? It's compressing and averaging everything humans have ever made into a relatively small set of instructions of, if this is the input, this is the output. And it all finds kind of the what's called the local minimum. It's like it's the least energetic state for any one of these inputs to be translated into an output. But that by definition means that it's kind of pushing in and compressing all the good stuff into some mush in the bottom of these kind of multi like mathematically sort of multi uh, 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 dimensional things, but it's still compressing all of that into a mush. And I think that's the Achilles heel of these things. I think that's where they're going to fail in many ways, not just in art, but that's my hope at least. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know that it's based on anything other than being hopeful, but I
Yeah.
do think that's the case, and I do think that humans doing human things, putting pen to paper, putting brush to uh, um, canvas, uh, holding a camera with other people, it is 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 just a different thing that the sort of machine learning can't quite learn, at least not at this point, and probably nowhere in the near future. Um,
Yeah, I agree with you. So for example, like recently I watched like a very old movie and I always like, oh, I want to live in that time. You know, like AI is great. I mean, I'm AI fellow in California Community Chancellor's Office. So I supposed to, AI, like, AI first, right? It's great for a lot of things. Yeah, like And recently I listened to Elon Musk another talk. Every time when I listen to his talk, I was like, wow, that is crazy. He mentioned that for Neuralink, right? He's talking about that. So in the future, whatever you think will be done. You don't even need to talk. It was like, hey, I just trying to ask, Claude Code to create like a plan for me to learn some language. And I was like, if I don't have to talk, then I was like, oh, what's the point of living here? I just think that maybe we just a brain in a jar and a lot of simulations, right? And keep our brain feel good. And I feel so sad. I don't know if you don't even need to talk and you just able to, communicate. I don't know what's going on with the future. What do you think about the future? It feels like whatever you think, whatever you say will be something, right? And it seems like everybody will be its own entrepreneur and create something that is so easy to get disposed by the next generation of something. And I don't know, like a UBI, right? And if you listen to some pretty forward-thinking, advanced podcasts, it's like money doesn't make any sense anymore because all the service will be so cheap, right? Maybe AI like OpenClaw. You see, you can do like a personal assistant. You just need to get an old PC and you can do all of them. So everything becomes maybe free, right? Robot will probably, there will be a lot of competitors and robot will be free. So you don't need to do anything. And everything seems free. I feel like this is very sad and depressed. Well, what do you think about the future that people are trying to achieve?
Yeah, no, I think the main question to be asked is like, who asks for this? Who wants this? Like,
I don't know.
who wants some future where you're completely obsolete and have nothing to do all day,
Yeah.
other than just kind of sit around and wait for the robot to bring you something, do something, whatever. Like I don't know anybody that if you ask them, like, do you want to be replaced in your job? They'd say yes. I think they'd say, I'd love to work less hours. I'd love to have assistance and whatever that makes it easier so I can spend more time with my family and all that. But I know no one who would want to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
um, and I don't think humans are really um, built that way. But so mm, I don't know. But also I don't know. I mean, again, I'm no expert in AI specifically, but it does feel like
Mm,
those promises are a bit overblown compared to the current technology,
mm,
and we're certainly not anywhere near that. But I do think as a society, we need to ask that question. Like, why are we letting a handful of companies run us into a future
mm.
that might not be what any of us is after? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, like clone human, right? Before we have like some ethical questions, should we keep study like a clone human or clone a sheep, right? And later on that experiment stop because it's unethical. But right now it seems like and if you even see that right now government, right? I saw a news. I was like, should it be opposite? Because it seems like the Department of Defense, but it changes the name Department of War. DOW is trying to argue with Anthropic. And I was like, wow, this is interesting news. What are they arguing? Because Department of War trying to automate using Cloud Code or Anthropic to automate weapon,
Yeah.
make it, automatic kill people, and also trying to do a big civilian for entire humanity or, American, I don't know what country is.
Yeah.
Like your basic human right will be gone. And second is like the machine has the right to shoot you and the Department of War is oppose it. It's approve it, and Anthropic, which is like the company should be because of the advantages, because of money, they should agree, right? Oh, but they say no, we shouldn't do that. So it's like you can see like wow, the government is actually trying to do the thing that we thought government is protecting us, but actually is the big tech. Even though we are complaining a lot, like, oh, you guys are unethical, but they are protecting us. So what do you see like at the entire direction? It seems like a lot of safety guards. Even if you see OpenAI is trying to dismiss the safety guard, right? The team. So what do you see our future? I don't know. I feel like
I think if you look at human history, there's always a swing in one direction and then a bit of a counter. Mm, This is moving so fast that politicians and
mm,
all the control systems are not built
mm,
to respond at the speed.
mm,
To me, I think there's no doubt that there will be some level of guardrails that will be put in terms of like what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, what is. And I think there's going to be a human reaction to like we just don't want this.
yeah.
But I don't, that's just my sort of hopeful, optimistic way of looking at the world. I very much hope I won't get replaced, or my daughter,
Yeah.
who's a teenager, that she gets to like have a life where, she does something that is fulfilling
And make money. Yeah.
yeah,
Feed the family.
and yeah, makes her life worth having. Um, so I don't know. I'm hopeful. I don't. I think people will push back. I think the politicians will come to. I think there will be restraints. But we're also at a weird moment all around. So it'll probably take a moment.
Mm,
Um, but I don't know. I'm generally a hopeful person. I think to make uh, art, you need to be hopeful at some level because you're spending time on something that you don't know if anybody will care for or impact anybody, and you need to kind of like believe in it. So it's my personality, I guess, but it's I do think that we as a society will end up pushing back against the things that are unnecessary and unwanted, and have AI as a tool. Also, I do believe that some of this hype will just kind of pass by, and
mm,
there will it'll find its kind of sweet spot by itself to some level.
mm.
Having said that, I do have to leave.
Hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, what's one thing that you still like to share that we haven't touched on yet?
I think just for anybody who's in any sort of creative field, including honestly computer engineering, in terms of like if you're making websites, you're making things, whatever, just keep making so that you learn how to make things that uh, other people find important and touching and useful. If you just um, uh, um, not procrastinate, but push off and be like, "Oh, I don't know about this or whatever," or I want to go spend a day doing something else. When you have an opportunity to make something,
Yeah.
my advice would just be to like make more. And whenever somebody approaches me for like advice for like filmmaking or whatever, or it's always
Make
just
more.
find people who are making things, do it with them.
Mm,
Don't do it on your own if you can avoid doing that, and just make, because every time you make something, you also learn
mm,
from the process and from the end product, and your next thing is going to be better.
mm. Yeah, cool. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We release episodes weekly. Quick note for listeners working at the intersections of AI education and workforce. Future Summit 2026 takes place September 9th to 10th in Santa Clara, focused on human skills in autonomous world. This conveying for people doing the real world real world work, such as educators, technologists, and the partners building the equitable, scalable solutions. If your organization wants to connect with California community college leaders, sponsorship opportunities are opening now. Details are at the description. Hey, cool. So if you enjoy this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and a 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Thank you and see you next time. The girl was pretty much listened to me. She joined another kind of like a game studio and just kind of like helping out. And the game shipped recently. And also she was joined tons of hackathons related to Meta. And also the interesting thing is that she got into the Meta Creator Program, which she can, directly working with Meta people. And also recently I just saw her got a full-time job in a tech startup. And she is probably 20, not even graduated from college. Yeah, so I feel like, hey, and you don't even need to pay anything, right? For example, if you go to college, you need to pay tuition, but she volunteer. It's like, oh, I learned something. I use my time, but in return, I got a couple of lists, published
Mm.
games on my, yeah. And I think last year she was a speaker to tell people how she accomplished this. So I feel like, wow, that's amazing. You can do
I
this.
I think I think that, that's a great story that reflects the fact that that's what we want, from a community college level, we wanna actually create equity, right? Like, there has been this, and again, this is something that's gonna have to be addressed by academia, but there has been this idea that we are the outsourced, HR department, right, for companies. It's like, if if what you've done is, do you have a boutique, like, Stanford brand, right?
Yeah.
You pass, like, the sniff test for the HR department, right? And we've gone through and had, for a while, had passed it on to the K through 12, like, you know, what's your GPA? How many AP classes did you take? What was your, SAT score? Like,
Yeah.
that was again kind of HR for the universities, which are then the HR for the companies. And
Mm.
and then what we did along the way was say, and you can't bankrupt if you take on a bunch of debt for, college. And that is, again, then so now you're not gonna necessarily, I go to a,
Mm.
I go and get an education, and it's not as qualified as somebody else, and now I can't get a job, and I can't bankrupt out of it. I'm just a permanent in debt person. Like, that is a joke.
Right.
That is just awful. And and if we don't address it, like, again, then academia is gonna get what it deserves for not addressing it, which is, people taking their money and doing things like figuring it out, doing their own thing, learning their own way. And along the way, somehow we were co-opted to be like, you need to make widgets. We cared so much about what people need from a business point of view that we forgot to make wonderful citizens, like, to make wonderful human beings. Like, the you know, what college should do is make amazing people that go
Right.
that respect who they are and the world that they live in, the people that they work with,
Mm.
and we lost the thread. And my hope is that we can get it back. That we can start to remember what the promise was, and
Yeah.
what the real virtue of understanding and generating more agency for ourselves means, and continues to mean.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of articles about right now people don't hire college grades, right?
Mhm.
And the reason why is because a lot of skills, it's like no longer. It's like if somebody need to hire the uh, uh, college grades, they
Mhm.
have to retrain. For example, I talked to one of my friend owns a game studio in Bay Area for over 20 years. She said that, "Oh, we only have like a 5 senior developer in our team, and it's enough." Yeah, with AI, right? And she said that, oh, she had a couple of intern in the past, but they find out I have to retrain, right? Everything need to retrain. Whatever they learned from school was pretty outdated. So that's why you see, like, I mean, I have my own startup, and I also have like my student start with volunteer. After 3 months, it's like, let's talk about if I can give you equity or not. Yeah, so it's more like that. And I realized that, for example, in our game dev like program, there's no GitHub training, which was like, hey, right now all the hiring managers looking at your GitHub.
They're
And the
looking at
reason,
GitHub.
yeah, and the reason why is because, according to the teacher, said that, oh, GitHub is complicated. Let's use like a Unity version control. You know, hey, it's interesting that the old way. And there are a lot of like a no AI policy. In Before I talked to a couple of change makers, I remember one. I feel very impressed. It's very interesting to kind of talk to some change makers. She is teaching computer science, and I usually ask, "What do you think the AI proof or the assessment need to be changed in AI era?" And she said, "Oh, I ask student to code exactly my way. If they code differently from my coding, they must be using AI." And I was like, "Well, this is probably a little bit too extreme." And I asked her, like, what's your coding type? It's like it's very basic, or we have a lot of spaghetti, right? You can keep repeating yourself, or you can be very concise, more like abstract, right? And she said, "Oh, her coding style is very basic, very beginner friendly." And I asked her, "What if your student is like, already working in the industry and write super amazing code and and very different from yours?" And she said, "Oh, they need to get into my lecture so I know they learn and they need to code exactly my way. Otherwise, they will be flagged."
Well,
So so
what's fascinating to me about those, and again, it's like, let's use that as just like an example, right? Like if me, Rick White, teleports back and has that as a professor, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take her whole corpus, I'm going to ingest it. Like she has coding styles and all that. I'll make sure that all my coding examples are code in her stuff.
in like be a shape.
And she won't be able to tell,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like, and again, so then really what is the point, right? Like of, of process. It's like, and that's the part I think that we really have to work with our colleagues to help them understand that where the rework is not not what you're delivering is diminishing in value. And it, but you have all this understanding, and you have this capability, and you have this style, and the meta is that you're going to help them understand and recognize patterns. You're going to help them utilize patterns. And then in a smart way, you're going to help them create new patterns. Right. And that activity needs to happen in every discipline. Right. Because if you don't kind of embrace that,
Mm.
then you end up like kind of stuck in this place where it's, cat and mouse again, and nobody's learning anything of any value other than how to trick the system. It's like, I don't know I don't know what value is in there, but other than rules are made to be broken, like that seems like what the common theme or story that gets to be told when you have people do ridiculous things over and
Yeah.
over again.
So that's what, yeah. But I think overall, slowly, I think a lot of faculty will slowly adapt, right? Because right now it's just, I know it has been a while, a couple of years, but for education, it's still a slowly move. Cool. So yeah, go for it.
We're in Oh, I was gonna say, we're institutionalized as well, right? Like, we believe, in assessment patterns and slows and all these things that have been developed by administration to try to quantify what's not quantifiable. Jo Right? Well, how do we know that you're delivering, right? It's like, yeah, because the students are happy, The students are content. The students are moving on. They're getting jobs, and they're a meaningful citizen in society. And that part is, you get used to being the gatekeeper. I'm the sage on the stage. I want everybody to listen when I talk, and we need to get over ourselves.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So,
Mm.
what's the one thing you still like to share that we haven't touched on yet?
Uh, I think that I think that uh, we're surrounded by a lot of wonderful and caring people. Like, especially in the community college systems, they're built on kind of creating kind of cultures of kindness and helping people to kind of reinvent and re-understand themselves. And I think that if we as an institution, as academics, if we lean into the fact that why we're here, right? To help people discover the wonderful the wonderful themselves, the wonderful people that they are, that the world will transform in ways that not only support, us, but help us to foster peace and kindness and abundance for everybody.
Yeah, I do agree. I think AI really helps us to release, our labors. That something that we don't want to do, or even we like to do, we can use them as co-pilot, right? Working with it, and also just like you said, that this world is abundant. If your mind is abundant, you will feel, the higher frequency, right? The love, the sharing, right? The run, right? Run actually is human to human. So the other side, two lines, that's two. And then that part is human, run, human. So two
Human to human.
to human.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, to human. So that is that word. So yeah, so if we can based on human and especially community college, we have a lot of different background of people. If we can give them like a more like personalized, and I think AI can really help us. But also we also address a lot of like AI issues such as privacy, data, right? So pretty much we just go around the world. Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate Rick, and it was really inspiring conversation. And that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. We release episodes weekly. If you enjoy this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and a 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Thank you, and see you next time.